Hey everybody, welcome to a non-collection update video. I'm doing 11 must-have death metal albums, death metal debuts. If you are a death metal fan, if you're not a death metal fan, then this is the perfect opportunity to introduce you to the genre, maybe see if you like it. I got into death metal probably about 9 years after I got into metal in general. So some of these will be kind of in my beginning of my journey getting into death metal. So this episode is brought to you by Zaxby's, where I had my lunch today, and also by the new Snickers Butterscotch Candy Bar, which at the end of the video I'll let you know if it's any good. So these are really only in the order of how I grabbed them out alphabetically. So the first one is basically from a death metal supergroup, Bloodbath, Resurrection Through Carnage. These guys are great. This was issued in 2020, so I don't think that was the year that this band started. I think it was a lot earlier than that. These guys are really good. They pull mainly from a lot of Swedish death metal bands. Really great stuff. Bloodbath. Next is from a UK band that started out kind of grindcore on this first album, and then later developed into just kind of a straightforward death metal band, and that's Bolt Thrower with their debut album, In Battle There Is No Law. I have all of their studio albums, and they had 2 EPs that were put onto one vinyl, so I have all of their studio stuff on vinyl. Really great stuff. Next band started also out as grindcore, also from the UK, and these guys kind of switched a lot. From it started out as grindcore, then they went kind of more just straight up death metal, then they went kind of melodic death metal, then they kind of did the death and roll thing, but everything being equal, it was all under the death metal umbrella, and that is Carcass's Reek of Putrefaction on Earache Records, originally released in 1987. I have all of their full-length albums on vinyl, and I have one of their CDs, one of their EPs on a CD, so I'm still missing a good bit of their EPs. Next one I'm going to show is taking you back to also 1987, and to the first proper death metal album that I've ever got a chance to listen to. And I bought it because I liked the cover, had never heard of the band or what their sound was. Death, Scream, Bloody Gore. A lot of debate on what the first actual death metal album was released. Was it this? Was it Possessed Seven Churches? Was it one of the early first couple releases from Sepultura? But this album right here, just like I said, I bought it for the cover. I bought it in 2000, and basically this is kind of where, in my opinion, like the very kind of beginnings of death metal really started. They really just kind of an extension of thrash, and then you had the more extreme vocals that went on with it. And Death themselves would have a lot of changes on how they would go. They would go straight from straight death metal to melodic death metal, progressive death metal, technical death metal. They really, in my opinion, kind of really started just about most of the death metal genres from the late 80s, early 90s. Next, we're going to go to, let's see, for the next three are going to be Swedish bands, 2 of which were part of the quote-unquote kind of big 4 of the Swedish straight-up death metal stuff. And the first one is Like an Ever-Flowing Stream by Dismember. These guys, along with Entomb, Grave, and Unleashed, kind of got that ball rolling in that style in Sweden. And next one, mentioning Entombed, Left Hand Path. Same kind of style, had that kind of buzzsaw guitar sound. Really wasn't a lot of double bass or blast beats with these guys. And they kind of evolved their style a little bit too, eventually going to like a death and roll type thing. The next one, also from Sweden, but part of a different Big Four for Sweden. And they were the Big Four of the melodic death metal scene. In Flames, Lunar Strain. They did have an EP prior to this, but strictly for this video, I'm going with the first full-length album. And they would change their style a lot too. They would be melodic death metal and that's their heaviest probably. They would go melodic death metal for the first few albums and kind of change and do some other things. Added some clean vocals and stuff in there. Their most recent release, Foregone, which came out, I think, in 23 or 22. I think it was 23. Kind of goes back to like the Just Erase days. Really good stuff. Going back to the States and a bit later on, and from my neck of the woods, Nile, Amongst the Catacombs of the Neferka. This was originally released in 1998. Carl Sanders and the boys do, basically this is technical death metal, and the lyrical theme is all about Egyptian history and mythology, and they carry that through all of their albums. Just a really great band, fun band to listen to. Next one, going back to 1989, staying in the States, this time in Florida, Obituary, Slowly We Rot. Now, Obituary and Cannibal Corpse and a couple other bands that really kind of started out 2 or 3 years later after death, they kind of took Scream Bloody Gore and ran with it to more into the gory part of everything. A lot of chug and kind of groove type riffs with the extreme vocals. Love the Tardy boys. John Tardy's vocals they're pretty much unmistakable. Next up, going back grindcore US style with Terrorizer, World Downfall, and this band featured David Vincent and Pete Sandoval of Morbid Angel on Earache Records, and this came out the same year that Morbid Angel's debut, Altars of Madness, came out. And I didn't show it for this video. I do have it, but I kind of wanted to go away from some of the obvious stuff. But really great grindcore style stuff. Pete Sandoval is just a monster on drums. Now the next one I have to show you, another band that changed styles a lot. They went from early on being death metal, moving to thrash, moving to groove, kind of tribal, then back to thrash a little bit. They never, went back into the full kind of death metal stuff they started out in. And my copy that I have is actually a re-recording of their full-length debut, but with the two main members of the original band who are no longer in the band, so they did it under a different name. And that is Sepultura's Morbid Visions under the Cavalera name. And this was on... This is on Nuclear Blast Records, part of 3 albums that they re-recorded. They did the initial EP, Best of the Devastation. They did this and Schizophrenia. I chose to buy these versions because I didn't think finding an original copy of these on vinyl was going to be anywhere close to being my price range. And also the first two, Morbid Visions and the first EP, production was horribly terrible. But they do a really good job production-wise. They don't make it too modern. They keep it with a pretty good raw sound to it. So that's what I liked about these recordings. If they go and do Beneath the Remains, I don't know if I'll pick that up. I don't think they're going to go any further, but you never know. But I'd like to get, even if it's just a reissue of Beneath the Remains, that's fine. I already have Chaos AD and Arise, still looking for Roots on a decent price, but this is a really good I want to say this one came out in like 87 originally. I don't see anything on here that says what the original release year was. But I know it was somewhere around when the Death album was released. I do know their EP, I believe, was 1985. Um, so anyway, those are 11 what I consider essential debut death metal albums for any death metal fan or anybody looking to get into death metal. Obviously, there's a lot more that I could have brought up, but I didn't have a lot of those, so I didn't want to mention some that I couldn't show. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and God bless.